Hey everyone, welcome to Untamed and Prosperous. I'm Dr. Natasha Nelson, your life doctor. So in the next couple episodes, we're going to shift around a little bit, and I'm actually going to do a 6-part series about nutrition and really the chemical influences on our health, how food, everything plays a role from our physical, our emotional, mental, spiritual, all of it comes together with our health. But nutrition is a key component, and a lot of misinformation, and especially with, of course, the internet has everything on there. My goal is really to give you a strong and solid foundation to build on so that you can start making decisions and choices that are best for you and your health, and also whatever it is that you are experiencing. So I am not your physician. While I am a doctor and I practice functional nutrition, this is the disclaimer that says, check with your physician before making any, major life changes. That's it, right? So I want to start today when we talk about nutrition. Sometimes it seems so basic and simple, and it really is basic and simple. You don't need to make it more complicated when you understand the foundation, and then you build from there. So here's where I'm going to start with a question for you. How many food groups are there? Every time I do this workshop, I can see it depends on when we went to school, right? Because if you went to school when they taught food groups were square, maybe you were taught food groups were a pyramid, right? The food groups in the square, there'd be 4, and in the pyramid there's 6. But then depending on when, because they split the bottom one, there'd be 7. Maybe you learned food groups in a pie chart to have 5. So you can see how, depending on when you went to school, the information was different. And I'm here to tell you there are only 3 food groups. They don't change, they won't change, and really it's the food groups according to nature and how our bodies function, use nutrition, and actually operate. All right, so you ready? I'm going to explain why. So, do you want to take a guess on what those 3 food groups are? I'll tell you. All right, so we have protein, carbs, and fats. That's it. Those are the 3 food groups, right? That's what your body recognizes and is able to use for fuel and nourishment and healing and all of its functions. So when we talk about these food groups, I want to break it down a little bit, because our body doesn't really recognize like a steak, or chicken, or beans, whatever your source of protein. Your body is going to break it down into amino acids. That's the smallest component of protein that your body is able to use as the building block for muscles, for ligaments and tendons and tissue. Protein is also how the hormones are built on. So protein is so important to the functional ability of your body to rebuild, but it's the amino acids that it uses. Carbohydrates breaks down to glucose. Glucose is the smallest component of the carbohydrate, which is actually sugar. And glucose is what is absorbed into the cell, and that's what the cell can use as energy. It doesn't use carbs. So whether it's they talk about simple versus complex, what's right or wrong. Well, it really depends on the activity. So glucose molecules, how many are in a chain, is how they determine if a carbohydrate is a simple or complex. So obviously sugar, simple, you have like one or two little glucose molecules together. When you have a whole wheat and a whole grain, you can have all of these glucose molecules lined up. There could be 20 or even 30 glucose molecules all in a chain, and then the body will break them up one at a time and use them, and that's what gives sustained energy, as opposed to fruit juice or fruit that's a quick glucose energy because it's simple, has one or two glucose molecules. Okay, and then we have fats, and fats are broken down into the smallest component known as lipids. And lipids are extremely important. They are so vital because they are the foundation. We have over 600 hormones in our body, and we need fats, we need the lipids to be part of the foundation of how they are built. Lipids and oils are also the protective layer of every cell, and they are also responsible for the protection of all of your nerves. All of the nerves in the body have like insulation to protect them, and that insulation layer is built on lipids or fats. And these are going to be the good fats, like the omega-3s, things that come from salmon, from avocados, nuts, the good healthy oils. So that is it, right? We have 3 food groups. And there's always somebody that's going to say, well, what about dairy? Okay, well, let's talk about dairy. Dairy is not a food group. Dairy is actually a combination of all 3. So if you eat yogurt or drink milk, the dairy has carbohydrates, proteins, and fats all in one, which is why, from nature, when a baby is born, breast milk, mammals, milk contains all of it. So here's a way to recognize food groups, what they are and what they aren't. Think about it this way. If we were to take away one of these food groups, would the body create some type of dis-ease or illness or cellular death? And the answer is yes. If we take away dairy, will there be some kind of illness or disease or cellular death? And the answer is no, because you can cut out dairy and still get all 3 of the foundation nutrition that you need in other sources. So you're thinking back to the square and the pyramids and the pie chart that you learned of food groups. And now you're starting to realize, well, those food groups were based on the lobbyists and the FDA and really what they wanted to teach you, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what the body recognizes as a food group. Because when you go to nature and you look at the body and how it functions, then you won't get pulled in all the different directions of, well, maybe it's good, maybe it's not. Always come back to the foundation of how the body works and what is found in nature, and you won't go wrong, okay? So there's so much more. We're going to take a deeper dive. Today was just part 1 of 6. All right, so stay tuned. We'll talk more on the next episode, and I hope that this was helpful information. As always, make sure you leave me a comment or like or share and help me spread the word. That would be greatly appreciated. So until next time, I'm Dr. Natasha Nelson, and live life untamed.